Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive? Today we're going way back to ancient wisdom, specifically Numbers chapter 6 from the Bible.
Always fascinating to see what we can learn from these old texts.
Right. Like, who would think that a passage about, well, hair and grapes could have something to say about living a better life today?
You never know. Sometimes the most unexpected places hold these surprising insights.
Exactly. So, Numbers chapter 6, this chapter is all about this thing called the Nazirite vow.
Yeah, this vow was a way for people to kind of dedicate themselves to God.
A big commitment, right?
Definitely. And it came with a few pretty interesting restrictions.
Restrictions, huh? Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of restrictions are we talking about?
Well, the first one was, get this, no wine or grapes.
Whoa, like at all, not even a little sip.
Nope. Total abstinence. And it wasn't just about avoiding a drink with a dinner.
So there's a deeper meaning here.
Absolutely. It was about self-control, like really mastering your desires.
Hmm, that makes sense. It's like saying no to things that might hold you back.
Yeah. Exactly. It was about prioritizing spiritual growth and staying focused on their dedicated purpose.
I can definitely see the connection to our modern lives. We're bombarded with temptations all the time.
Yeah, instant gratification, you name it.
Resisting that extra slice of cake or unplugging from social media, that takes serious willpower.
Oh, for sure. That self-discipline muscle needs a good workout.
No kidding.
Mm.
Okay, so no wine, no grapes. What's the next restriction on this not right vow?
All right, this one's a bit different. They couldn't cut their hair.
Whoa, really? Like for the entire time they were doing this vow?
The whole time, think about it, it's a pretty visible statement.
It's like a walking billboard for their commitment.
Exactly, a public declaration, and probably a constant reminder of their dedication, too.
That's so interesting. It's like even way back then, they understood the power of like outward symbols
Yeah.
to reinforce what's going on inside.
Totally. And we still do that today, right? Think about athletes who don't shave during playoffs or people wearing ribbons for charity runs.
Oh, yeah, good point. It's a way of making your commitment visible, maybe even inspiring others.
Right. It's like inviting people in, showing them what you stand for.
Okay, so we've got no wine, no haircuts. What's the third restriction?
This one's maybe a little harder to relate to today.
Oh.
Lay it on me.
They couldn't have any contact with the dead.
Wow. Okay, that's different. Definitely needs some modern day translation.
It does. But essentially, it was about keeping a certain level of spiritual purity, like avoiding anything that could distract from their connection with the divine.
So in today's world, maybe it's about being careful about the influences we surround ourselves with.
Yeah, exactly. Like, are we hanging out in environments or doing things that drain our energy?
Pull us away from our values.
Totally. It's about curating our experiences, both physically and mentally.
That's huge, especially in a world that's so full of information and stimulation.
It's so easy to get pulled in a million directions. This idea of mindful separation feels super relevant now more than ever. It really does. It's like taking back control of our attention, choosing what we let into our minds.
Absolutely. Creating that space for what truly matters.
Makes you think about setting boundaries,
Yeah.
not just with physical space, but also with our digital lives.
Yeah, like being intentional about what we consume, who we spend time with, even what we allow ourselves to think about.
It all adds up. It impacts our focus, our energy, and ultimately our ability to achieve our goals.
Couldn't have said it better myself. These ancient ideas, they really do pack a punch.
They really do. So we're talking about self-control, making tough choices.
Yeah.
It can be kind of intense, right?
It can be. But there's this really beautiful concept at the end of Numbers chapter 6.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more.
It's called the priestly blessing, and it comes right after all this talk about commitment and restriction.
Interesting. So what's this blessing all about?
It's a three-part prayer that, God tells Aaron, the high priest, to say over the Israelites.
A prayer specifically for these people who are making these big commitments.
Yeah, exactly. And the words, they're simple but so powerful.
What do they say?
Okay, so it goes, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace."
Wow. There's a real sense of protection in those words, like being surrounded by a shield of goodness.
Right. It's this reminder that you're not alone, even when things get tough.
It's like having a divine backup system no matter what challenges you're facing.
Exactly. And, it makes me think about the power of words in general.
Oh, totally. Like how a simple compliment can completely change someone's day.
A kind word, a bit of encouragement, it can really make a difference.
And this priestly blessing, it's like taking that to a whole other level.
It is. It's about intentionally invoking goodness and well-being on another person.
Hmm. There's a real depth to that. It's not just being polite. It's about recognizing their worth, their potential.
Absolutely. And I think there's a real connection between this idea of blessing and the self-discipline we were talking about with the Nazirite vow.
Oh, I see it. Like two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. One is about inner transformation, mastering yourself.
And the other is about sharing that positive energy outward, blessing others.
Right. It's like when you work on yourself, it naturally flows into wanting to uplift those around you.
It's a beautiful cycle. You grow, you share that growth, and it comes back around.
Absolutely. But the question is, how do we actually bring this ancient wisdom into our modern lives?
That's the million-dollar question. We're not going to walk around with uncut hair and avoid grapes.
Probably not. But the principles behind those actions, those are timeless.
So how do we translate those principles? What does a modern-day Nazirite vow look like?
Well, it starts with recognizing the power of self-restraint, even in small ways.
So like setting boundaries with our phones, being mindful of what we eat, stuff like that.
Exactly. It's about making conscious choices that support our well-being, even when it's hard.
It's about choosing long-term growth over instant gratification.
Yes. And remembering that those little choices, they add up over time.
They shape who we become, what we achieve.
And just like the Nazirites made their commitment visible, we can find ways to express our values in the world.
Like through actions, not just words.
Right. Volunteering, helping others, even just expressing gratitude more often.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the priestly blessing. In a world that can feel so negative, choosing to bless others is a powerful thing.
It's like a little rebellion against the negativity, a way of shifting the energy.
Totally. It's about focusing on the good, recognizing the light in others.
It's a simple shift in perspective, but it can make a huge difference.
And it doesn't have to be complicated. A genuine compliment, a helping hand, just being present for someone.
It's about choosing to be a force for good in the world, even in small ways.
Absolutely. And the amazing thing is, when you start to bless others, you often find yourself being blessed in return.
It's like that cycle we were talking about. It just keeps expanding outward.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe we can even start a modern-day blessing movement.
Now that's an idea I can get behind. Spreading a little more positivity and light in the world. It's pretty amazing, right? Like these ancient concepts, the Nazirite vow and the priestly blessing, they still have so much to teach us today.
It's true. They really do highlight these timeless principles, self-discipline, dedication. Those are things we're still grappling with thousands of years later.
Absolutely. And it's not about following these rules literally. It's about taking those core principles and finding ways to live them out in our own lives.
Exactly. It's about adapting ancient wisdom to our modern context.
And it's interesting. This Nazirite vow, it wasn't meant to be forever.
Oh, yeah, good point. There was a set period of time, right?
Right. And then they would go through this whole ritual cleansing, like a reintegration back into society.
It's like they were stepping out of everyday life, focusing intently on their commitment, and then coming back transformed.
Yeah, I like that. It's like a dedicated period of growth and then bringing those lessons back into the world.
It's a cycle, right? We need both the focused effort and the integration to really make lasting change.
Totally. And what I find so fascinating is that after all that discipline and commitment, they didn't just go back to business as usual.
Right. They received this incredible blessing, like a divine affirmation of everything they had done.
It's like a reminder that our efforts matter, that there's something bigger supporting us along the way.
Exactly. And it brings us back to the power of the priestly blessing, right? We can be that source of blessing for others.
It's not just something we receive, it's something we can give.
Absolutely. We each have that capacity to uplift and encourage those around us.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Numbers chapter 6, it seems like the big takeaway is this. It's about finding that balance between inner strength and outward kindness.
Yeah, it's about working on ourselves and then sharing that goodness with the world.
It's a beautiful reminder that we're all connected and that our choices, both big and small, can make a real difference.
And who knows, maybe we can all find ways to make our own modern-day vows, commitments to personal growth and positive impact.
I love that. What a powerful way to live. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Keep exploring, keep growing, and keep blessing.